Hey folks, this is Steve from Demand Side Analytics, and the purpose of this video is to demonstrate how to use our top X of Y CBL program for data structured in a long format. If your data are structured in a wide format, then the syntax will be just a little bit different, but there's another help video link in the help file, so just look that up. All right, so to illustrate how this works, I'm going to set up just a training data set, 365 days, 24 hours per day, and load will be normally distributed with a mean of 25 and a standard deviation of 5, which is probably a bit unrealistic as far as load shapes go, but this is a demo, so no big deal there. And I'm also creating some indicator variables, one for some event days. I just made up a couple of event days, an event indicator variable, so between the hours of 13 and 18 on these event days, a holiday indicator variable, which currently does not tag all of the federal holidays. I just threw a couple of them in there. And then also an ineligible indicator variable, which in this case only tags holidays, but this could also be used to tag like planned shutdown days or other days that are just not eligible baseline days. And before I run the actual program, it might help to take a quick peek at the help file. So the required components, var list, that's your load variable name, so kilowatts, megawatts, or whatever you have. X and Y refer to the top X of Y. So this could be 3 of 3 or 3 of 10 or 5 of 5 or whatever you want, as long as X is less than Y or less than or equal to Y. Date is your date variable name. Interval is your interval variable name, at least for long data. So in my example, I have date as the date variable and hour as the interval variable. And then event is your event indicator variable. So not event day, but event interval indicator variable. And then there are a number of options included. If you want weekends to be eligible baseline days, you can keep those in there. This ineligible, which I pointed out a bit earlier, but if you have some planned shutdown days or holidays that you want to tag as ineligible baseline days, you want to use that option. Weekday specific, if you want Mondays to factor into the CBL for an event on a Monday, you could use this option. And then most of the rest of these deal with adjustments. So additive and multiplicative are both fair game as far as adjustments go. You can apply a cap, which again could apply to either the additive or multiplicative adjustment. Pre-adjustment intervals and the pre-buffer. Let me actually so here's one of your event days. Say you wanted to have an additive adjustment based on some pre-event data. So this pre-event intervals or pre-adjust intervals, if you wanted like a 3-hour window where your adjustment is based on, you just use 3 for that variable. And then that pre-buffer deals with how many intervals you want between the adjustment window and the event itself. So if you wanted these 3 hours to be your adjustment, pre-adjust intervals would be 3, and then the pre-buffer would be 3 as well. There's also a post-adjustment option. Same idea. You just define what buffer period you want, 1 or 2 or 3, and how big of a window you want the post-adjustment to be made. You can use both pre and post if you want to. That works. Look back limit if you want to constrain the look back window to a certain number of days, and then data format begin and end. These are all options that you would use if you have a wide data format, so I don't need to talk about those here. All right, last thing we want to do is actually run the code. So here I'm going to create a top 2 of 3 baseline, have my date, my interval variable, my event indicator variable, event interval indicator variable. Tag some ineligible days. I want to add in an additive adjustment, or maybe I shouldn't say add in. It could be a negative adjustment. That's okay. Pre-adjustment interval is 3, and then a pre-buffer of 2. So for example, that would be my buffer period for this event day, and the adjustment would be based on those 3 hours. No post adjustments in this code here. All right, so what this creates is your unadjusted CBL. So that does not contain the additive adjustment. And it also has the adjusted CBL, which has the additive adjustment in there. And it also shows what the adjustment factor was. So you could deduce what this was based on what's given, but some people might like to see it. If you ask for a multiplicative adjustment, you would get that as well. And you see that the additive adjustment can be positive or negative, and it will obviously change from day to day. If I wanted to use a cap, that would have limited what these adjustments could be. So if you have questions or suggestions or recommendations, please feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I hope this program is useful to you.